September 14, 2008, 9:17 a.m. Burbank, California. The conference room is too cold. A long glass table stretches across the center, polished to a mirror shine. At one end sits a thick script, 128 pages, bound in black. The studio watermark glows faintly on the cover. Outside the window, the Hollywood hills look calm, but inside this room, something irreversible is about to happen. The actor hasn't touched the script. He leans back slightly, fingers steepled, listening to the studio executive across from him outline what this role represents. A multi-picture deal, back-end points, franchise potential, merchandising, cultural dominance. You'd be defining a generation, the executive says. Silence. You can almost hear the air conditioner hum. Because this isn't just another audition. This is a character that could anchor a cinematic universe. A role that will likely stretch across a decade, maybe more. If he says yes, his name will fuse to it permanently. And that's exactly the problem. Hollywood history often celebrates the roles that were taken, the brave yes, the transformative performance, the iconic casting choice. But buried beneath those stories are quieter decisions. The meetings that end without signatures, the scripts left on tables, the calls agents make at midnight. This is one of those stories. At the time, the actor is already respected, critically admired, carefully branded. He has built a reputation on layered performances, selective scripts, and prestige projects. Awards conversations orbit his name, directors trust him. But this role, it's different. It's commercial, loud, mass appeal. A character that will appear on lunchboxes, billboards, Halloween costumes. A role that could eclipse everything else he's ever done. And so the question forms, not about money, not about fame, but about identity. Who do you become when one character consumes your public image? Across town, in an office stacked with production art and casting boards, another actor waits. He is not the first choice. He is talented, hungry, known, but not untouchable. His career has momentum, but not permanence. This franchise could elevate him or swallow him. He doesn't know yet that the role may soon be his. Because in Hollywood, casting is a battlefield without gunfire, and today, the tide is about to turn. The first actor's hesitation isn't arrogance, it's calculation. There is fear of typecasting, the invisible trap where an actor becomes inseparable from one archetype. There is contract weight, years locked into sequels and reshoots. There is the brand question, does this align with the path toward long-term prestige, or derail it? And then there is something rarely discussed. Burnout. He has spent years chasing complex roles, award seasons, press tour, the grind. To commit to a franchise means surrendering time, personal, creative, physical, to green screens and global premieres. He flips one page of the script. Stops. Closes it. I don't think this is mine, he says quietly. No shouting, no drama, just a decision. But decisions like this don't end in rooms, they ripple. Within hours, agents are on calls, studio heads recalibrate projections, insurance considerations are reviewed, the casting board changes. The studio cannot wait, release dates are already slotted, marketing timelines locked, investors expect momentum. And so they pivot. The second actor's phone rings that evening. His agent's voice is measured but electric. They passed. A pause. It's yours if you want it. You can almost feel his pulse in that silence. Because accepting this role doesn't just mean employment, it means transformation. It means stepping into something another man walked away from. Why did he walk away? And what did he see that others did? Years later, audiences will debate performances, box office numbers, award nominations. They will argue about who defined the character best, but they will not see this morning. This room, this moment where legacy forked in two directions. One actor protected the trajectory he believed in. The other stepped into the unknown. Both thought they were making the right choice. Only time would decide. And time in Hollywood is merciless. Because what followed would not just reshape careers. It would reshape power itself. That night, the city glows differently. In a quiet Los Angeles living room, the second actor sits alone with the script now open across his lap. The same black binding, the same 128 pages, but the weight feels different here. He reads past midnight. Outside, traffic thins. The room is lit only by a floor lamp and the pale reflection of a skyline that has broken many careers before him. The character on the page is bold, flawed, charismatic, vulnerable in flashes, indestructible in others. It is not subtle. It is not quiet prestige. It is scale. And scale changes everything. Back in Burbank, the studio machine has already shifted gears. Casting directors reopen negotiations, contracts are redrafted, publicists prepare contingency statements that will never be used. The first actor's team remains calm in public. Privately, there are murmurs. Did we overthink it? Will this explode without us? His agent reassures him, the long game matters, the carefully curated career path matters. He reminds him of the directors waiting to collaborate, the scripts on hold that promise awards rather than action figures. But even strategic minds are human. And humans imagine alternate timelines. You can almost feel the tension inside that first actor's home in the weeks that follow. No official announcement has been made yet. The trades are circling rumors. Industry blogs speculate about creative differences. Comment sections begin to buzz. He pretends not to notice. He reads other scripts, meets with auteurs, maintains composure, but at night there is a flicker of doubt. Not about talent. About history. Because some roles don't just pay well, they rewrite cultural memory. Meanwhile, the second actor signs. The contract spans multiple films. There are clauses about physical training, exclusivity windows, worldwide promotional tour. Insurance policies account for stunt risks. His body will need to transform. His schedule will no longer be his own. He steps into pre-production meetings where concept art lines the walls, futuristic cityscapes, battle sequences, costumes sketched in detail. Producers speak in numbers. Projected global gross. International markets. Phase 1 rollout. He nods, absorbs, listens. But internally, something else is happening. He knows he was not first choice. That knowledge sharpens him. It plants a quiet resolve. If this becomes legendary, it will not feel borrowed. It will feel earned. Hollywood doesn't pause to reflect, it accelerates. Once the casting announcement breaks, headlines focus on the new face of the franchise. The narrative shifts instantly. Interviews frame him as the perfect fit. Studio enthusiasm appears seamless. The public never sees the pivot. But inside industry circles, everyone remembers. They remember who declined. And they remember why. There are whispers about fear of being boxed in, about protecting artistic credibility, about hesitating at the scale of responsibility. Some executives admire the discipline. Others call it caution. And in Hollywood, caution can look like weakness. Production begins. The second actor trains relentlessly. Early mornings, fight choreography, dialect work, costume fittings that last hours. The first time he sees himself fully transformed in the mirror, hair styled, costume fitted, lights calibrated, there is a moment of disorientation. This isn't just a role. It's an identity shift. The camera tests confirm what the studio hoped. He fits. More than fits, he commands. And as footage trickles through internal screenings, confidence builds, investors relax, marketing doubles down. The machine is moving. The first actor watches from a distance. He doesn't attend early screenings, doesn't comment publicly. He focuses on his upcoming prestige drama, a smaller film, intimate, layered, award-friendly. On paper, it's the safer bet. But safe and seismic are different things. When the franchise film finally premieres, the red carpet stretches for blocks. Flashbulbs pop like artillery. Crowds chant the character's name, not the actor. The distinction matters. Because in that moment, something irreversible happens. The second actor is no longer climbing. He has arrived. And the world begins attaching his face to a symbol larger than cinema. Opening weekend numbers shatter expectations. Box office records fall. Social media floods with clips, quotes, memes. Children mimic lines in schoolyards. Late-night hosts build monologues around the character. The franchise isn't just successful. It's cultural. And as the numbers roll in, the first actor sits in a quiet screening room for his own film, a performance critics will later praise. But outside that room, the cultural conversation is elsewhere. You can almost feel it, that invisible shift where legacy branches. One career deepens, the other detonates. And somewhere in between those trajectories lies the question that will haunt both men. Was walking away an act of wisdom, or the costliest miscalculation of a generation? 2 years later, awards season. January air hangs cool over Beverly Hills. Inside a ballroom draped in gold fabric and camera flashes, the industry gathers to congratulate itself. At one table, the first actor sits in a tailored black tuxedo nominated for a performance critics have described as restrained and surgically precise. It is the kind of role he envisioned when he declined the franchise: complex, human, awards caliber. At another table across the room, the second actor arrives to applause that feels different. It is louder, broader, charged. He is not nominated tonight. Franchise films rarely dominate in these categories, but his presence bends the energy in the room. Cameras find him instinctively, producers shake his hand longer, studio heads lean in closer. Cultural gravity does not require statues. It requires reach. This is where the psychological shift becomes visible. The first actor still commands respect. Directors approach him with scripts. Critics defend his choices. His interviews remain thoughtful, measured, articulate. But when he walks through airports, no one dresses as his character. No one quotes his dialogue in late-night sketches. He has preserved prestige, but prestige whispers. Franchises roar. And in Hollywood, volume translates to leverage. Meanwhile, the second actor's calendar transforms into a military campaign schedule. Global press tour, comic conventions with tens of thousands of screaming fans, back-to-back sequels already greenlit before the second installment even wraps. There is exhilaration in that pace. And exhaustion. You can almost see it behind his eyes during junket interviews: the repetition of answers, the careful navigation of spoilers, the obligation to remain enthusiastic. He is now inseparable from the role. Children recognize him before they know his real name. The character has eclipsed the man. And this is the paradox. The first actor feared being consumed. The second actor accepted consumption, and in doing so became mythic. Inside private circles, the conversation shifts from great performance to bankability. Studios begin recalculating risk models, investors notice patterns, merchandising revenue dwarfs ticket sales. The franchise becomes a pillar of studio survival. The second actor's negotiation power skyrockets. Back-end points increase. Producer credits appear beside his name. He is no longer just cast. He is consulted. And with each sequel, the mythology deepens. The first actor watches box office reports like weather patterns from another coastline. He doesn't regret his film. Critics continue to champion his work. He lands nominations, wins some. But something subtle has changed. When major studios assemble long-term cinematic universes, his name isn't the first on the whiteboard anymore. He is viewed as selective, brilliant, controlled, but not scalable. In an era shifting toward franchise ecosystems, scalability is currency. And currency dictates power. There is an interview years later where a journalist cautiously asks him about roles that got away. He smiles politely. It just wasn't the right fit at the time. No bitterness, no public doubt. But you can feel the careful phrasing, the professionalism, the refusal to indulge hypothetical regret. Because regret in Hollywood becomes headline fuel. And he has spent his career avoiding spectacle. Across the industry, a new generation of actors studies this fork in the road. They see two models. 1. Preserve artistic range, protect long-term credibility, remain unattached to corporate mythology. 2. Step into cultural fire, accept the branding, harness mass appeal, and convert it into empire-level leverage. Neither path is wrong. Both extract a cost. The second actor's cost begins to surface quietly. He auditions for smaller, nuanced projects between sequels, but directors hesitate. Can audiences separate him from the franchise? Can he disappear into subtlety after embodying a global icon? Typecasting is not always a trap at the beginning. Sometimes it tightens years later. The first actor, meanwhile, continues building a mosaic career, varied roles, stage returns, collaborations with auteurs. His legacy becomes layered rather than explosive. But late at night, in those rare moments of professional silence, a thought occasionally intrudes. What if? Not about money. About cultural permanence. Because awards gather dust. But characters live in collective memory. 10 years after that cold conference room meeting, the franchise concludes its saga. The final installment breaks records again, audiences cry, social media erupts. The second actor stands center stage as the character he has inhabited for over a decade. The applause is thunderous. History seals. And somewhere in a quieter screening room across town, the first actor watches. Not with envy, but with the awareness that a single sentence, "I don't think this is mine," altered two destinies forever. Yet the real question lingers beneath the surface. When the spotlight fades, which legacy lasts longer? November 3, 2019, 11:42 p.m. A private residence in the Hollywood Hills. The afterparty has ended. The tuxedo jacket lies folded over a chair. The final film in the franchise closed its theatrical run weeks ago, breaking records that analysts once considered unreachable. Streaming rights have sold globally. Merchandise numbers stretch into the billions. In the quiet of his home, the second actor stands alone on a balcony overlooking the city. For the first time in over a decade, there is no sequel scheduled. No dawn training session. No costume fitting. No press tour itinerary taped to the refrigerator. The machine has stopped. And when machines stop, silence can feel loud. You can almost sense the psychological whiplash. For years, his identity moved in lockstep with the character, interviews, marketing campaigns, public appearances, all orbiting the same gravitational center. Now that orbit has dissolved. He is free. And exposed. Because the industry now asks a different question. Who are you without it? Offers arrive quickly, some safe, some experimental. Studios attempt to replicate the formula in new franchises. Streaming platforms pitch limited series, action scripts stack high. But something has shifted inside him. He doesn't want repetition. He wants distance. The irony is sharp. The very typecasting the first actor feared is now his obstacle. Casting directors hesitate to imagine him outside the armor. Audiences expect a certain tone, a certain charisma. Breaking that expectation requires risk. And risk in Hollywood is rarely applauded the first time. Across town, the first actor sits in a rehearsal space for a stage production. No green screens, no motion capture, just wood floors and raw lighting. His career has aged differently. He has become a craftsman figure, respected, steady, called upon for gravitas roles. His performances accumulate like chapters in a well-bound novel. Critics use words like enduring and disciplined. He never had to disentangle himself from a global persona. But he never commanded a global wave either. Two careers. Two currencies. One explosive. One enduring. Industry analysts begin writing retrospective pieces. How franchise casting changed the 2010s. Actors who defined a cinematic era. The second actor's face appears in nearly every thumbnail. The first actor's name appears in footnotes, the road not taken. It is not disrespect. It is narrative simplification. History favors visible arcs. And blockbuster mythology is easier to compress into headlines than steady excellence. But here is where the story deepens. Because legacy is not measured only by volume. It is measured by longevity of relevance. 5 years after the franchise ends, cultural tastes shift. Superhero fatigue enters the discourse. Studios recalibrate budgets. Audiences crave smaller, character-driven stories again. Suddenly, the market leans toward the kind of projects the first actor built his career on. His catalog ages well. The second actor begins experimenting indie films, directing, producing. He searches for reinvention. Some attempts resonate, others falter. Reinvention is harder when the world has memorized your silhouette. In a rare round table discussion years later, both actors are present, older, composed, reflective. They exchange professional respect. There is no rivalry in their eyes, only understanding. Because both now recognize something that was invisible in 2008. There was never a safe choice. Only different sacrifices. The first actor sacrificed scale for autonomy. The second sacrificed anonymity for cultural immortality. Neither escaped consequence. And this is the industry truth few discuss openly. Franchise-level decisions are not about one film. They are about surrendering or preserving narrative control over your own identity. Say yes and you join a mythology that may outlive you. Say no and you retain authorship but forfeit mass imprint. Both paths alter how executives perceive you, how audiences frame you, how history catalogs you. Back on that balcony in 2019, the second actor closes his eyes and listens to the distant hum of Lowe's Angels traffic. He does not regret saying yes. But he understands the cost now. In a rehearsal studio across the city, the first actor bows at the end of a performance, applause rising steadily, intimate, sincere. He does not regret saying no. But he understands the magnitude now. And perhaps that is the quiet revelation at the center of this story. Legacy is not built solely on the roles you accept. It is shaped sometimes more dramatically by the ones you decline. Because in Hollywood every no creates another man, yes. And sometimes, that single decision reshapes an entire era.